Sensei Michelle, and I want to thank my small audience, the family of Derek and the family of Randy, for being here. And we are going to start, as we should always start everything, with a courtesy bow. Please, right? Thank you. And I'm going to start by running introductions. Landon, you want to jump up and do the camera thing like we talked about? Thanks to all of you YouTubers who are coming in for us. Over here in the corner, we have Sensei Jay joined us. Sensei Jackie. And then we'll pan by the two characters who are the stars of the show. And over here to the far corner, we have Sensei Lydia. And as I stated, I'm Sensei Michelle. I want to give Landon a big shout out because he is the reason we were on YouTube. So are you willing to come in front of the camera or not right now? There he is. And I'm going to courtesy bow to you, Landon, for that help. This is awesome because now all the students and all the black belts and all the people far away who might want to see this can tune in. So thanks, guys. Congratulations, gentlemen. You earned it. I'm going to start by talking about my teacher, Master Joe Collegian, who passed away a few years ago, because he is the reason we're here. Were it not for his dedication to karate, none of us would be here. In his book, 365 Days of the Warrior, he talks about the seeds that are planted in your under black belt years, your Q years. Those are seeds of courtesy, honor, obligation, and possibly my favorite, accountability. And those seeds begin to frame the character that blooms after the black belt promotion. He also writes, and he has said many times to us, I have helped make real men and women fit better into the accurate world. And finally, and I'm going to paraphrase this, he used to always talk to us about how Goju, USA Goju Federation, our style, allows each individual to rise to his or her own greatness. And each one of us looks back on our road to black belt thinking it was the most individual road. Read here, the hardest. And I'm telling you right now, mine was. Okay, so to that end, I'm going to stop for a minute and give a moment of silence to Master Klute. Gokura Samachita Sensei. And with that, I'm going to turn to the candidates. So here we are. This is Derek Pelatti. Is that correct? Yes. Your last name? Oh, I love it when I get it right. Derek's road in karate, first off, a big shout out to his first karate teacher, Mary Hunter, because she did a very good job with him. And he has been in karate for, good Lord, one way or the other, a decade. Yes. A really long time, working hard at becoming proficient technically, working hard at becoming an excellent teacher, and working hard at honing his own personal character, which is probably the hardest part. I'm just so proud of how far he's come. So here we go. Yes. Come to Keith's gate, please. Give this man a hand. As you can see, a lot of things are different today because of the pandemic. We aren't indoors. All 6 candidates are not here at the same time. No one is in a kneeling position. And the belts are not sitting in front of the candidate on the ground like they normally would be. So we had to adapt everything to this situation. Like that, Sensei Jay has brought in the certificate for Derek. Hold it up for us so we can say, ooh, ooh, ah. And now we move to soon-to-be Sensei Randy. So, among many other things, Randy is my nephew. So congratulations, or I'm sorry, whichever one fits there. And a lot of times we kid and say Randy's been in karate his whole life because he would come into the dojo in a carrier with me when I was babysitting him and I had training that day. So in all your life, you've never known life without a dojo.
Never.
He's gone through many different stages of intensity in his training. More time in the dojo. I'm going to wait for this plane to pass. Less time in the dojo. But he has really, really honed his teaching skill to a high degree. Also, I want to give Randy a shout out for getting one of the absolutely best scores that was possible on the written test. Way to go.
Thank you, Sensei.
Congratulations for that. And it's definitely in my thoughts that both of these men will continue to grow and train in the way of karate. So I'm very, very proud of that. And here we go. Congratulations. You guys can tie your belts up and set them up in your thing.
This is it.
Push it up. No, they can get this. Spin around. It's nice. Showed up, Randy. Let's courtesy bow, please, to the new Shodan. And give him a hand. Come on, Lydia. And now I'm going to give up the floor to Sensei Lydia, who is going to say a few words about each candidate. You stay right here for a minute.
Thank you, everybody, and so glad to be here with everybody today, and so proud of these 2 gentlemen who have worked so hard. It's been a really trying year, given everything that is happening, and they worked so very hard. And Derek, you know, I couldn't be prouder of you. You used to come out on Saturdays and train with me and help me out, and I so appreciate your hard work and your dedication.
Yes.
I couldn't be prouder. And to Sensei Randy, I've actually known Sensei Randy since he was about 1.5 years old, and Sensei Michelle used to carry him around the dojo in her arms. So I've known you for a very long time, and I couldn't be prouder to see you develop into and grow into the man that you are today. So I courtesy bow to both of you. I couldn't be prouder. Congratulations. And just remember that the journey starts with 1 step, and you are on your way. Congrats.
Congratulations. I have 3 points of honor I want to speak about. The first is you 2 have met the obligations and achieved the requirements to become a black belt. And I know you're honored. Secondly, now you honor the belt. You may have to think about that, but you honor the belt. And thirdly, what an honor it must be to receive your black belt and trained under Master Darbro. My courtesy bow here.
Sensei Derek and Sensei Randy. I I am so happy that today finally came for both of you, knowing that this is just the beginning of a path of wonderment that never ever goes away. No one can take your black belt from you, but you will follow down a path of greatness, I am sure. Sensei Derek and Sensei Randy, I've had the opportunity to teach with both of you, to learn with both of you, and for me it has been an absolute joy. I expect to continue and learn from both of you as you learn from your black belt experience. Congratulations.
Okay, Derek, you want to pull that mask down while you talk, or are you going to talk through it?
I'll talk through it.
You hear him okay, Landon?
Yes, I will say that I am truly thankful.
All right.
Yes.
We're so proud of you. And this has been a long, really long, hard road. Even just this year has been a long, hard year.
Yes. I'm truly thankful for everything I've learned, I've taught, the growth I've had. Us?
Us. That's going to be hard to follow, Randy.
I don't know if I can follow that, but throughout all the years I've been in karate, I've like Sensei Michelle said, I've come, I've gone. It's never really left me. The only thing that has left is me leaving karate, but it's always been inside of me. I've seen many people grow into great people, and I just hope to continue that amazing journey. And all the people who have helped me along the way, all the senseis, the students, friends, the family, thank you to you too. That's all I got to say.
Courtesy
Thank you
about
all.
us. I'm going to give a shout out to the families for their support of these people. I think it can be inconvenient when people are training because they have some training obligation that conflicts with a personal obligation and they're trying to balance it all. And I notice and appreciate supportive families. Agree, guys?
Oh, I was gonna say.
So, yes, absolutely. So, come on out. We're going to do a courtesy bow. If this were a normal day, we would be having a toast right now. Make a little bit circular so we can sort of fit. Come on. Are we all in? Okay. Courtesy bow, right? And to our families, see? And to our YouTube family, see? Congratulations, gentlemen. Good job.
Thank you.
Martial Arts Supply is located in Beaufort, Georgia. If you're close by, stop by. You can order online at honorathletics.com and by phone at 770-945-5150. Wildcatdojo is the coupon code and you know how they work. Mention it on the phone or type it into the coupon code and get 10% off. Thank you, Bernie, for your support. And here's Sensei Jay.
This is Wildcat Dojo Conversations.
Hi, and welcome back to the program. I'm still Sensei Michelle. Of course, I'm here with Jackie. Hi. And Landon.
Hello.
And Paula.
Hi.
If you want Paula's credentials, you're going to have to go back and listen to the podcast on how to pick a dojo. In that, you'll hear all about her. She's awesome.
She is.
And that word, even though it is overused, is appropriate in this case.
It certainly is. Thank you very much.
And today, we're going to talk about what is the deal with being a sensei. I'm going to start out with the Overlook Martial Arts Dictionary definition, and they simply define it as a teacher or an instructor. Wikipedia is closer with the words, the one who comes before. And my favorite definition I read on a t-shirt that I saw, at one of Sensei Keith Teller's tournaments, and this was maybe 12 years ago now.
At least.
So huge shout out to Sensei Teller. If somehow you end up listening to any of my podcasts, please get in touch with me. I can't wait to interview you. And it read, a sensei is simply someone who didn't quit. And that is my favorite definition of a sensei. Finally, the commonly accepted definition is someone who came down this road before you, very much like a parent, and we all know how well children pay attention to the years of experience that the parents offer. Yeah, I thought that was a good little intro right there. Anybody want to add into that before we push? I get complete silence. At least I didn't get deer in the headlights look. Everybody understands that nobody listens to their parents. And 99% of the time, nobody listens to their sensei. They have to learn it the hard way.
Or they ask another sensei.
Okay, don't get catty. I've often said, if you knew how close you and your sensei were going to become, you'd leave less to chance and you'd pick so carefully. In my memory of anecdotal history, the majority of sensei and student relationships have always seemed like they were meant to be.
I agree with that.
Definitely.
But I have heard of a few stories where it just didn't work out for one reason or another, and then the person tried within the same system a different sensei.
And did that work out?
You know, I have no idea because I don't remember any of them.
Huh?
Like I remember the event and this person left that person and went to this person, but I have no recollection of who they are. So if you're out there, tell us, right? That's your job, Landon. You should be given the shout out.
Let us know.
Okay, so I shouted out to senseis. So I'm going to start with some input from what they wrote me when I asked them, what's the deal? Sensei Lydia wrote, it's always amazing to see a young student grow into a courteous and disciplined individual who can excel in life utilizing martial arts skills. Boy, that was a grown-up sentence. And right? You go, Sensei. And she's right. It is an amazing process to watch people grow.
Oh, yeah.
And in the one we talked about first, Sensei Harmon mentioned, and I mentioned too, about how students come back to you years later. And you had the experience where you saw Sensei Chrissy and had that moment where you could finally say with real appreciation, I had no idea what I had at the time.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, speaking of Sensei Jim Harmon, he wrote, for me, teaching karate is about helping people reach a higher level of proficiency in everything they do. If nothing else, instilling a sense of self-confidence in a child will help them immensely as they move forward in life. And it's the same for adults.
Yeah.
So, again, he's, right on.
Right on.
Good Lord, how long ago did I go? Right, like into 1968? For that one?
Before they were born.
And by that you mean our entire listening audience. Okay, a long time ago I wrote this. When I finally thought about what I was and am trying to accomplish with students in the dojo, including an apology to all the students who trained while I was finding my way, coincidentally, that is still going on, it occurred to me that I might be spending too much time on attempting to go through the motions of what I thought my upbringing was and not enough time letting the person find their own way, which I came to believe and I still believe is the most important thing I can do. Enthusiastically set the table each class with interesting material and let the students young and old find their way through the morass that is training start to finish, whether it lasts 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, or a lifetime. So that's what I wrote when I finally sat down and started to think about all this.
All those years ago.
It says here that I wrote this in the 90s.
And not being because everybody here, except for me and Paula, who is in black belt testing, but it's interesting to hear how the senseis feel about teaching because you know that they care and that's something that's important. And going back to pick a dojo, you need a sensei who cares about you and who's there for you.
And tagging that into Master Collegian, people always used to say, I don't know why his dojos are so successful, I don't know why. And the reason why is because he, not only did he physically show up in the room all the time, but he was actually there. He was in the room with you, so caring about what you did, and you knew it. You could feel it, you could sense it, it was a happening thing, and that is what made everything that happened at that period in time just an extraordinary experience. But I want to push on that, Landon. You teach, And you teach one-on-one with
Us.
children who are, you're hardly a child anymore, but at the age of 12, he had a birthday. And you care. I can see it when you teach. I can see it when you come out of a lesson and you come to me and you're like, here's what happened. What are your thoughts? Right? So what's your take on that?
Us, I feel again, tagging along to How to Pick a Dojo, we, as teachers, you feel like you have a connection to the kid. And even, I was working with a kid the other day who, it was his first time being in karate and he was overwhelmed. And I was working one-on-one with him. And you could see that he was enjoying it, but wasn't really grasping on with what I needed to get done. And that's a really interesting thing for me to see other kids and younger kids who are coming to karate for the first time and just trying to open them up to new karate things. It was his first time that he was working with somebody, and I wanted him to remember that first time that I worked with Landon. He asked me, he said, "How did you get a brown belt?" And I said, "Lots and lots of work."
Well, I remember that day. And before I add on, I want to say how insightful that whole thing was, Landon. Good grief.
Yeah.
And he was lucky to have gotten you on his first day. When we set up our workouts for our brand new first day students, we set it up with approximately 2 to 3 minutes of work, followed by 2 to 3 minutes of game, followed by 2 to 3 minutes of work. So the idea that that was too much work for him is hilarious to me. Like in my brain, I'm like, oh my gosh. My general rule of how long is a child's attention span is their age. That's my general rule. If a person is 3 years old, they have approximately less than 5 minutes, but more than 2 minutes attention span. And then they're going to start to wander, wiggle, touch. Once they're 6, they can go under 10 minutes, but over 5 minutes before they need a game. The group I had last night, we had not a majority of beginners, but we had beginners. And I stayed on task under 10 minutes before I moved off and let them wiggle it out a little bit. Because it's very difficult. You have to train yourself. Go to our meditation podcast. It's a Wednesday short. You have to train yourself to be focused. And that is something that if you have it, you don't really notice the time going by. And if you don't have it, you have a tendency to go, well, I just can't do it. But under the heading, what you do a lot of, you become very good at through meditation. You can train your mind like you train your speech and body posture. And if we can make it fun along the way, then that's perfect, isn't it?
But I do think that if you want your child to learn and be what we are talking about in this podcast, you have to find a dojo where the sensei believes those things.
That's a good point, actually. You want to give the person the opportunity to shape themselves while not taking away from them their individuality. And it's tricky, but totally worth the effort.
Okay. Yes.
Hey, before we go on, Paula, why don't you tell us about Sensei Harrison?
Well, Sensei Harrison is my sensei, and he is a wonderful teacher. He's very patient. Talking about the relationship between a student and a teacher, we have a really cool relationship, and we consider each other good friends, and he's always there for me in the dojo and outside of the dojo. And just his teaching style, I really appreciate it, and it really works for me.
I think we all agree he's exceptional.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
And I have no idea what makes him so good with kids, but he is. And he is very much loved by all of his people. So everything you say about him is really true. If he were here, I'm sure he would tell us his viewpoint but now you're just going to have to go with that, Sensei Harrison. So there.
We love Sensei Harrison.
Lastly, I'm just really appreciative for you, both of you senseis, and all of the, I feel like it takes a village to raise a karate person right, and it's just been amazing to have all these wonderful examples and really strong women to look up to. So it's that could be a whole another podcast.
Thanks, that's nice. I'm going to jump over to Sensei Tracy, who shared the idea that a sensei goes way beyond the dojo walls, which I think is something that you think about Sensei Harrison.
Absolutely.
A good sensei is a leader and a mentor, because martial arts affects every aspect of the practitioner's life. So does the influence of the sensei. They become a rock for the student, and as the student progresses, he or she becomes the same for her or his teacher. That's a really nice sentence. What she's saying is that integrated relationship it turns itself around very much like an adult child will be so respectful towards their parents and honor them and look after them as well they should. And that is the way the sensei-student relationship can go. All right?
Okay.
Yes.
Moving on from there, in the book Zen and the Art of Archery, which is one of my all-time favorite books, I love this book, Herigel is the guy's last name, mentions that the relationship between the student and the teacher is based on mutual trust and respect. And I think that speaks to everything we've been saying. Correct?
Yes.
Definitely.
So now I'm reminded of a note that I made in the Kicks with Kids series where I wrote, years from now, when the student hasn't seen you or the dojo in 20 years, he or she won't remember very much about the actual karate, but they will always remember you.
Yes.
Your influence will travel with them for the rest of their life. What a responsibility that is. And I think you spoke about that, Paula, when you spoke about Sensei Chrissy.
Yes, it's completely true. You don't know what kind of impact you're going to have on somebody. And yeah, I remembered her all those years, 25 plus years. And
Vividly.
Absolutely. And it was amazing to be able to see her later, me being an adult. It's just a really special thing.
Sensei Yoli came at it from a completely different angle. You guys might find this helpful. I found it helpful. She says, being a sensei is spontaneous and diversified. There is not a specific time to be a sensei. In addition, there are a diversity of strategies to use with different situations. And that's really a good aspect to look at it from. Like that speaks to what you were saying, Landon, about how when you're with somebody, you just have to adapt right in the moment because they need your adaptation.
Yes, definitely. It's personalized to the person.
And it makes you be in the moment.
Also, I would like to add that we do spend a lot of time allowing our children to be individuals and our adults. But I put specific time into teaching my children. Once they're at about 2 stripes, we start this as a conscious effort, how to become a group and how to work as a group. This week, Sensei Jackie took 5 weapons people, and they had to work as a group. And it wasn't their first time doing it, but it's very hard for them to adapt because we do spend a lot of time letting people be individuals, which both things are important.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, guess what? It says right here, hey, Sensei Jackie, you want to read your own?
Sure.
Okay, there you go.
From the day I received my black belt, I have loved being a sensei. It is one place in life where I can say I did the work and earned it, even though I've had so much help along the way. I have to be a positive example for my students and try to guide them to take responsibility for their actions, as well as help them to keep both old and new karate concepts fresh. Each day presents new challenges for which I am thankful. It is an honor to not only grow older, but also to attempt to grow in wisdom.
That was excellent. Okay, and finally, from the voice of our opening, Sensei Jay,
Wildcatdojo Conversations.
He says, and I can't do his voice, so I shouldn't try. The last time was humiliating enough. To me, a sensei is someone who works to be remembered as a good human being, not just a good fighter.
Wow. That's the
powerful.
essence right there.
Wow.
Isn't that a nice closer?
Oh, yes.
Definitely.
Okay, so in the last 2 podcasts where we went over Pick-a-Dojo and where we're going over what's the deal with being a sensei, what we really hope that we've helped accomplish here is if you're a non-karate person and listening to this podcast has made you think about looking into dojos, now you know kind of what you're looking for. When I was a young student in karate, there was a huge
Chasm.
between the student and the sensei. They worked a lot in sarcasm. They were very separated from the student. There was no discussion with the student after class ever under any circumstances. And that changed so much over time. And even within the context of my training years, that changed. I think that there are people who are still training who think that is a weakness, but I don't see it as a weakness because I think in the bottom line, you have to remember at the beginning of this, we said it's just somebody who came down this road before you. They have the wisdom of years of experience, but they are nowhere near perfect. It's just a person who's working hard. And that is a cool thing. That is a cool example to watch somebody who's a hard worker and who helps you become
your own version of that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
All right, let's go last words on this one before we do our goodbyes.
Paula, do you have anything to say about becoming a sensei and that responsibility? Are you looking forward to it?
That's a great question.
That's a really great question. Side note, Landon, you are wise beyond your years.
Thank you.
Ever since I met Landon,
Thank you.
We
he's
always
always
say
been.
that.
It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a great question. I think in some ways it's scary because I think of it as like the death of one part of my life and the beginning of a new life. The learning will never stop. It's just going to be a little bit different, but I'm very much looking forward to it. It's something that I always knew I would accomplish. So for it to be this close, it's really exciting. And because I've been a music teacher for so long, and that's a huge passion of mine, I love to teach. To be able to teach now in a totally different realm is very exciting to me. It's also a challenge because it's different than teaching music. You know, music is something that I've done for so long. It's just a different way of teaching. The ability to teach is there. It's learning and growing and being able to get the information out the right way. A lot of the skills in music teaching transfer to karate in a lot of ways. Landon had mentioned trying to adjust so that someone can understand, because you cannot teach everyone the same way because everyone does not learn the same way. So I think I'm looking forward to those challenges. It's really exciting.
It's first days. Excitement and anticipation and anxiety. We love it.
Yes.
And the key is to push right on through to the actual event. Go ahead. What is it?
To me, it's very interesting the way that you look at it.
I'm going to tag on to your conversation here, Paula, and say, as the years passed, Master Collegian would speak for quite a long time about how every person learns differently, and it's the sensei's job to find out, how does this person learn? What words do I need to use here? And oftentimes when I'm working with a person at black belt level, I'll say, tell me what's going on in your mind, because that's the word I'm going to use for you when we are trying to accomplish this moment, because those moments can, like a beginner, they can be individualized, even though you're a beginner at a whole new level. So I think what you're saying and what Landon brought up is not a new thought, but it is a rare thought. It isn't a super common teaching skill. Whether we're talking about musical teachers, whether we're talking about school teachers, don't you love the ones that can really make the subject come to life for you?
No, definitely. It makes you grasp onto it and really understand.
And want to. The desire is there. And
to keep going.
Exactly.
That's what I like it when I walk out of a classroom wanting to know more.
Yeah.
And I like it when the teacher evidently cares about the student, the information, and about the whole subject. It makes for just an unbelievable learning experience.
And just for the record, we are in no way, shape, or form dissing any teachers. We love teachers, and we think it is a very underrated, underpaid job, and teachers should be rock stars.
Teachers are rock stars.
They are. There it is.
They just don't get the good publicity.
Or the pay.
Or the pay.
I didn't want to say it, Sensei, but that is very true.
Well, it's not a secret.
No, it's not.
Everybody knows it. All right, guys. This was fun.
This was very fun.
Yes.
And didn't we learn some new things?
I did.
Us?
And I want to shout out to all the senseis who sent me in some notes about their view. And furthermore, if you are a sensei and I didn't write out to you, please
let us know at dojoconversations@aol.com, on Facebook at Wildcatdojo, and on our webpage at wildcatdojo.com.
We want to hear what you think a sensei is. We're absolutely interested in that. So a good fit to the end of this is, if you don't mind reading, I have a blog spot at kickswithkids.blogspot.com, and it's essays, all about teaching children. Just every kind of problem you can think of and more is in there. And if you want your essays in a more cohesive order, you can order a book called Teaching Children, Karate and More, by me, Michelle Darbro, at Amazon.com. Could have been by someone else. I talk about other people's books. At Amazon.com. And it's a like I say, it's just a little cohesive book that has all the essays in it written out with pictures so that you can tackle some of the most difficult things about being with kids day in and day out. I walked into a school the other day and the owner of the school said to me, "You know the best thing about having you walk in?" And I said, "No, what?" And he said, "You're fresh. And we all need a 5-minute break." And I said, "That is so true."
Totally true.
Right? So please, if you have the time, it's free to go on the blog spot, read it over, give us some feedback on it. Thank you all so much for being here. Lana, why don't you start out the goodbyes today?
I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope that you join us for more.
No, I really enjoyed today. It's my second podcast ever, and I'm really happy to share it with everyone here.
It was such a pleasure being with everyone during this podcast, and I wish you all a good week.
Don't forget to visit honorathletics.com and use Wildcatdojo in the coupon code for your 10% discount. And with that, I'm signing out till next week. Oh my God, I'm so excited. HonorAthletics.com has agreed to be our first sponsor.
For those of you who listen in South Florida, you may remember Cynthia as the owner of Pro Karate on Commercial Boulevard. They moved to Georgia and opened a new venture.
So please, for all your athletic needs, karate and more, go to honorathletics.com. Use code WildcatDojo on checkout.
Because I need them to know that they're getting customers from this advertisement.
Or you can call 770-945-5150 and mention Wildcat Dojo Conversations when you're ordering.
Please support Cynthia at Honor Athletics Martial Arts Supply in Beaufort, Georgia.
Thanks, Cynthia and the entire Bernie family for becoming our first sponsor.
One more time, that's honorathletics.com or call 770-945-5150. Now on with the show.
This is Wildcat Dojo Conversations.
Hi and welcome back. Sensei Michelle here with another episode of Wildcat Dojo Conversations. Before I begin, I want to give a shout out and say, send us some feedback. We'd appreciate it. What are we doing right? What would you like us to do a show about? To make it easy for you, I've created a phone number where you can leave us a voice message. 954-350-1915. So if you don't want to write or email, just leave us a voice. Thanks for the feedback. Okay, now we're really going to start. Welcome back. The trio is here. Myself, Sensei Jackie, and Landon.
Hi, everybody.
Hey. And today, our guest is Paula. Paula is a karate student training with Sensei Harrison. She's been with him for 6 years. However, as she will tell you, she returned to karate because she had trained as a child. She is also an instructor for various award-winning marching bands and drum and bugle corps. She plays instruments, mainly the trumpet, and before she began working at Flex Seal, where she works now, shout out to Flex Seal, she toured professionally as a trumpet player in shows around the world, for example, Blast. And finally, and not least importantly, she's in the middle of a black belt test right now, so she'll be on good behavior today, right, guys? Say hi, Paula.
Hi, everybody. Very excited to be here.
Really excited to have you.
Thank you.
Today our topic is how to pick a dojo. I've had a few requests to talk about how to pick a dojo, so I'm going to give it a shot here. A dojo is a training hall for Japanese martial arts. If you go to History Part 1, you can learn what they're called if you go to Kung Fu, or if you, wasn't that in the History Part 1 one?
Yes.
And if you go to Korean Taekwondo, in our style we use do, which means way, and jo, which means place. So anytime you guys have a thought, just jump right in, okay?
Okay.
I wonder if it's a good idea to start with the saying, karate is for everyone, but everyone is not for karate. That probably is a good jumping off spot. You could say that about everything, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Definitely.
Except this. So you could say tennis is for everyone, and everyone isn't for tennis, but the reason everyone isn't for tennis is because they don't have the physical attributes to be really good at tennis. And so they may like going out and hitting the ball over the net with their cousin, but they aren't going to be able to take their tennis seriously unless they have some skill.
That's correct.
Where karate is built for every age, every body type, every ability to memorize. Good memorizers, poor memorizers, every kind of physicality. And its magic trick is that it takes the confident person and allows them to see that they are, in fact, human. And it takes that very shy and that very introverted person, and it allows them to see that they are, in fact, human, each one exceptional in their own way. And so karate really is for everyone. It's also something that you can do from a very young age, 4 years old, 5 years old, until you die.
Right.
And in my experience, I've seen that it's very rare for someone, even if they have a passion for a physical sport or art form, to be able to take it through their lifetime at the same level because it's based solely on physicality. Can you do it with trumpet playing? As long as certain things hold out.
If your lungs are doing all right. But it is very taxing. You know, I've seen the older people get, it can be more difficult for some people the older you get.
Right, because of the air.
Correct.
Where karate is concerned, I've seen people do karate in a wheelchair. There's a really locally famous blind guy that used to compete. And they'd walk him to the center of the ring and he'd compete. So it really is for all styles of people. But the reason why everybody's not for karate is because it does take certain characteristics. And let's round robin this. I'm going to go with doesn't hate self-discipline.
It takes a person who is happy to repeat, just loves repetition.
That was my second one. Somebody who doesn't mind repetition, because life, in fact, is repetitive.
Someone who's looking for something that they can just continually improve upon. There really, in my opinion, there is no ending place. There's always something to get better at, so it's always a challenge.
And if you listen to the podcast, we say that all the time.
That's right.
Take somebody who cares. That kind of goes into what she was saying.
Yeah, it takes somebody who can find that balance between having fun with it and taking it seriously.
Us.
That's a good one, Landon, a really good one. So where that saying is concerned, we have so many people come into the dojo, right? And then they drop out at all different periods. The highest drop-off point in our style has always been at advanced white, because that's where responsibility really starts to play.
Definitely.
For both children and adults.
Yes.
Starts to get real.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't think that's a bad starting point. If you were looking for a dojo, first you would want to look at yourself and say, does that sound like something I could cope with? Right?
Right.
Definitely.
And anything that you think of that before you go into karate is probably going to change when you get to karate, because it's never what you thought it was.
But alternatively to karate, can't believe I pulled off the word alternatively, there's boxing gyms, there's the kickboxing workout,
Yes.
and there's MMA, which doesn't have the philosophical aspect. At least I don't think it does.
I don't think
but we'll ask Sam after he finishes up that venture. If you didn't hear the Sam podcast that came out a few weeks ago, you'll have to go back and check it out. So those are also alternatives if you don't think you want to look into this, which, as you know from all the podcasts we've given you, has three big legs. It has kata, which is forms, which is moving in kind of a dance against an invisible person. It has sparring, which is a contact, but usually light contact. Two people together, not on an imaginary person. And it has the self-defense. Also two people together, and most people's favorite part.
Us.
Okay. Anything else on that before we push?
I don't think so.
The first thing that you should remember is that your relationship to your teacher is more important than the actual style of karate you end up in. Because every style is kicking and punching. That's what everybody's doing. Listen back to History Part 1, and you'll hear the differences between the Kung Fu, Karate, and Taekwondo. And if you're looking for a particular type of fighting, something that is softer and more circular, something that is more competitive, something that'll lead you into a world of professional acting, then you can search from that standpoint, because then you know what you're looking for, right?
That's right.
If, on the other hand, you don't know, another way to begin the search is online for a tournament in your area. And you could go out to the tournament, you could talk to different people there, you could find out what their attitudes are like, and it could help you in deciding what school you would like to go and investigate. I'm a big proponent of community schools. So in the community school, going out and looking at the course offerings and seeing if they have a karate school, that's a very good place to begin. You're certainly allowed to change your mind and try another style.
And normally, when you do that with the course offerings and the community school, you have a less of a tuition, and usually there's no contract to make you sign for 10 years or more.
Agreed. And we are proponents of no contract, although I understand that everybody's just trying to make a living. We're trying to make a living. So it's difficult to balance that art form and that how do I keep my electric bill paid. So I understand it. I'm not putting anybody down, so don't send us hate mail on that. But she's right. At the community school level, you're usually going to find that the contract is for 4 weeks or 6 weeks. That's it. If you go into a dojo and they say that you can only try and you cannot watch, I'm not crazy about that as an idea. I think that a person who wants to try to join karate should be allowed, if they were that nervous, to sit down and watch. And we are that way in our dojo.
Definitely.
At the young age and at the teenage age and at the adult age. Everybody's allowed to watch and kind of get their feet wet from afar without the commitment of standing in front and being embarrassed because they don't know what jumping jacks are or because of whatever reason. They don't know how to take fighting stance or whatever. So I think a person should be allowed to watch. And I write here, if they won't let you watch, I might recommend pushing on. I'm interested in y'all's opinion on that.
I think it's very welcoming if you offer that option of come on in, join us. You know, you can absolutely just sit and watch and take it all in. I think that's showing, it kind of gives the vibe of the dojo in a sense right away, that's saying, we want you to come in and see what we do. And maybe you'll decide that you want to try next time, because not everybody is ready to go, get in there, jump in there right away. So I think that's nice to have the option.
I also think that it tells you what kind of dojo you're going to. Is it the kind of dojo where there's cliques, or are you allowed to be yourself by watching and seeing whether you would be comfortable with the group that's there?
Okay, that's actually a valid point, really, to me, because I never think about cliques or somebody feeling unwelcome. In our dojo, we are just such a motley set of people. We're very different from one another, and when people walk in, they just join right in and do whatever we're doing, and it's not noticeable to me. But I do know that exists in dojos and in life, and of course that's one of the things you would want to look for. Good point.
Us, and I've seen sometimes, especially just helping out in the kids' classes, is that it's overwhelming when you come in a loud room, when there's just different groups, and you walk into that. And I think it's really important, and I've worked with kids where they just don't feel comfortable enough to get right into what we do. And they want to watch, and then they say, okay, I like this, I don't like this. And in our dojo, we respect that.
Oh, yeah. Well, don't mistake what Landon said with, I like this, I don't like this, so I don't have to do it.
Us.
If you join the class, you do all the parts you like and the parts you don't like. But I think what he's saying is by sitting and watching, they're saying, okay, I like more things than I don't like, so I'm going to give it a try.
Us.
And it's not nearly as scary as I thought it was when I walked in the door.
Right.
Absolutely. And in fact, our experience is that if they sit in a chair and watch, about halfway through the class, they'll come to me and say, can I go ahead and join today? And I say, of course, because I want the person to feel welcome. And it's going to get hard enough anyway after the first year. Now, what you're going to look for when you're watching a class or trying a class is, does the tone of the class match your desires? If you're a person who wants to have 35 or 40 minutes of exercise, but that dojo only does 10 or 15, then that maybe isn't the place for you. You should talk to the teacher. Maybe they know of a place. That's what I say to people. If I'm not your dojo, just tell me what you're looking for and I'll send you off. I know tons of other dojos and they might be the one for you. Do you want lots of kata? Do you want lots of self-defense? And then you can see if that dojo does that and speak to the teacher and think from that standpoint if it fits what you think you need. But I do want to reiterate, the relationship between the teacher and the student is tantamount. So you want a teacher who you can talk to and a teacher who can talk to you.
Us.
Definitely.
If you're an adult, my thought is that you need to let the process just unfold and try not to micromanage it. That is literally what I wrote there, and I didn't even know it. I said it exactly the same both times. On the other hand, if you're a parent looking for a place for your child, remember the style is not going to make as much difference as the teacher. Look for someone who can balance everything that you're trying to prioritize, learning self-defense and learning self-control. because those are the two big pillars for a child. Those are the two things that are going to make a difference as they start to grow up. That they can control themselves so that they don't have constantly to be yelled at by others, and they have the self-defense in a God forbid situation, right?
Absolutely.
So you want the teacher to be able to balance those two things while still allowing the child to be a child. I wonder if we ever told the story about when we had a student who went off to a karate camp one summer. Maybe he was 7, and it wasn't a Goju camp, and that's fine. And we said, have a good time. And about after a week, the parent called me up and said, I had to pull him out of the camp because the teacher came to me on the 3rd day and said, well, we'll have him whipped into shape in another day or 2. As if there was something with the child that needed to be changed. Yes. So maybe the teacher didn't mean it that way. That's what we're going to go with.
Yes.
Right.
Well, it always sounded like she was trying to break in a horse.
Yes. That's what it sounded like to us at the time. And that's obviously what it sounded like to
the
Mom.
mom.
So we already know how our first day in the dojo, because that was an entire podcast we did. So let's go to when you were a child.
When I was a child, so it's an interesting story. I don't think I've told anyone this, maybe quickly in passing, but when I was 7, I began in karate. My father played poker very often, and one of his friends that he played with was friends with Master Collegian, who also played poker, as many of you know. So I believe my dad played poker with Master Collegian a few times, and I was a very big Ninja Turtle fan since about the age of 4, so my parents knew that was something I would enjoy, and it was either Master Collegian or the mutual friend, but one of them said, you should bring your daughter to a class. So I showed up at the Cooper City Dojo, and I started studying Goju for about 3 years.
Now, do you remember who the teachers were?
Sensei Chrissy was my sensei.
Oh,
Wow.
Did she remember you when you met her?
Yes.
Oh,
So it's
isn't
really
that
cool.
cute?
That's very cute.
Yes. Yeah, it's really cool. So
Shout out to Sensei Chrissy.
Shout out to Sensei Chrissy, and I never forgot Sensei Chrissy either, all those years in between, because she made a great impact on me. She was an excellent teacher and made it fun. I learned how to not hit so hard in areas that you shouldn't hit.
She says while she touches her chest.
Yes, and also Sensei Bear. Sensei Bear, Richard Bear was my other sensei.
Another
And,
shout out. Sensei Bear,
nice.
if you're out there and somehow come across this, please get in touch with me. I've been trying to reach you for years.
That was an adventure. You know.
Do you remember what made you leave?
Yes. My mom got in a car accident. She was fine, but the car was not fine, and it was just a little too far to get there. And that was around the time I was about 10, and I started playing the trumpet, and it all kind of turned to music, and that kind of took over my life. But honestly, I always thought about it in the back of my mind. I would love to go back someday. I would do my hard blocking system sometimes, you know. I remembered how to count in Japanese, so it was always kind of there. And I was touring a lot for my job, so there was never a good time. And then in 2013 sometime, I kind of said, I want to be stationary. And then 2014, I said, I'll join again.
And how did you find Sensei Harrison, who has a dojo in Pompano?
Well, it's interesting. I was trying to find the Cooper City Dojo information, to be honest, because that's where I was, and I didn't realize that there were other dojos in the area. So I went on Google, and I couldn't remember the name of the place, and I just couldn't find it, and then I found your website, Sensei. And so I contacted you, and you directed me to Sensei Harrison, because that was the closest dojo to me.
I had no idea that happened.
Us.
That's so cool.
That's like magic.
But that does sound like me, because I do get a lot of people call me looking for dojos, but they're not close to me. So I try to send them to somebody they're close to, because like it or not, proximity is a player in this game of finding a dojo. If you have to drive 45 minutes or an hour, you're more likely to not stick with it. If you have to drive 15 or 20 minutes, you're more likely to stick with it, which is why we keep our podcasts 20 minutes. We think that's how long it takes to drive from point A to point B.
Because you can listen to us while you're driving to karate.
Kind of fits with our come along.
Okay. Anything else that you want to add about your picking a dojo experience?
I don't really remember much when I was little. I just knew that I really liked it.
Sensei Chrissy is phenomenal. To this day, she is phenomenal. Absolutely loves her students.
And like Sensei Harmon said, you remember the people and not all the technology, and he said that.
We say it in
Right.
the blog a million
Yes.
times.
And you never know what kind of impact as a teacher you're going to have on someone.
I can't tell you how many times we said that in this podcast, and I can't tell you how many times we brought it up in the blog over the years.
The relationship between the sensei and the student is not like any other relationship. And until you've experienced the relationship between you and your sensei, it's really hard to imagine what it's like.
It's intricate. Your lives are intertwined.
And it's layered.
Hey, you know what? Our whole next episode is on being a sensei, so you'll hear more about it there. Before we close out, let us know how you picked your dojo, or what kind of luck or karma it was that made you end up in your dojo. Of course, we're going to tell you how to get in touch with us. Take it away, Landon.
Send us an email, please, at dojoconversations@aol.com.
Where else, Sensei Jackie?
Go to our Facebook page. After you like us, send us any kind of communication.
Yeah.
Let us know about you.
And where is that Facebook page, by the way?
Wildcatdojo.
Should we spell dojo? Because we've said it 1,000 times.
D-O-J-O.
Sorry, I'm laughing. Meanwhile, I want to go back to what Sensei Jackie said about liking us on Facebook. If you have not already subscribed to our podcast, please subscribe so they come right into your device.
Us.
And review us, because we want all the 5-star reviews we can get. We love it. We're getting more and more listeners all the time, but we still want even more subscriptions. Please, folks. And with that, we're going to call it. We're going to start with Miss Paula. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
Okay, say goodnight, Gracie.
Good night. See you soon.
Good night. We'll see you later.
This is Sensei Michelle signing out. Hey, one more thing. In our excitement making our ad for honorathletics.com, I forgot to tell you that when you put in Wildcat Dojo in the coupon code, you get a 10% discount. So don't forget to go, honorathletics.com. Thanks, guys. Till next week.
first thing I want to do is welcome the families, the limited amount of people we invited out here for this live promotion event. And the second thing I want to do is our courtesy bow. So if everyone would please come to Kiske, and I'll do this without falling off the step. Go. To the masters, please. And now my first shout out is to Landon. Come stick your head in the camera as our YouTube tech man. I really appreciate it. You know I do, Landon. Are we good?
Thank you,
okay.
Sensei.
Just a quick introduction. Over here in the corner we have Sensei Jays joining us today. Sensei Jackie. And we'll pan across our two candidates, soon to be Sensei Lucas and soon to be Sensei Alex, but we really need to get over here to Sensei Lydia. And that is all of the live people. I am, of course, Sensei Michelle. I always do forget to say that, which is hilarious. And I'm going to start out with just a few words. Congratulations, gentlemen. This has been a long year of testing, much longer than normal. I started the last promotion by talking about Master Collegian. He is, after all, the reason we're here. And I'm going to start this one the same way. Master Collegian wrote a book called 365 Days of the Warrior, each day being something that a warrior could read as incentive, motivation, or just knowledge. On the last day of the year, this is what he wrote. On December 31st, he wrote, this is not me, I began to think about all the battles I won and lost this year. With failure comes the lesson of humility. I'm going to let the plane pass. It's allowed to land it. With winning comes the lesson of confidence. Put these two together, and that is the lesson of character. This year is done. It is set in stone. The only thing that can change it is lies. A line that I actually love, by the way. I love that line. And now I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. In this moment right here, life pauses, and these two gentlemen get recognized for the extraordinary people they are. And as soon as this moment ends, new adventures await. And it is our job as karate people to step always towards those adventures. He says, we stop for a minute to honor hard work, and then we do what all karate people do and push. So to my sensei, rest in peace, I love you so much. We're going to have one little moment of quiet. Gokura Sama Deshita, Sensei. Thank you. So Lyndon, tell me, is that showing?
No, Sensei, but we can put it up on the screen.
Sure, put it up on the screen.
We'll get that for you guys in a minute.
So this year, it's so different in so many ways. Normally we would be in Seiza. Normally we would have a giant cake. Normally our black belt certificates and the belts themselves would be sitting in front of the candidate on the ground in an indoor setting. So everything is so different that we decided to mark that event by creating this card with all the names of all the candidates and the black belts who tested them as we went through this very, very difficult year. It will be up on Facebook later today, but Landon has put it up for you to see real quick as well. And now, after all that, I'm going to turn my attention to the candidates. I'm going to start by talking about soon-to-be Sensei Alexander. Alexander is an extraordinary young man in so many ways. He's, of course, headed off to college at the end of the school year, and he has spent most of his childhood in a dojo. I actually remember back when you were a little kid. And we would train in our daytime school together, and he was so acute, mentally acute, from the very first time I met him. And he is an excellent technician because of that mental acuity. He really applies it to everything he does. Alexander also has gone out of his way this year to really make appearances inside the dojo, inside the Zoom teaching classes, and really still connect with all the cues, even as we are in this situation where we can't be together as much as we'd like. I want to give him a courtesy bow for all that work. And here we go. While Sensei Jackie brings out Alexander's certificate, I want to say Alexander, Lucas, and Mara in the next set of promotions are all going to be Shodan Hos. A Shodan Ho is marked by that brown stripe. And what it means is that these gentlemen and Mara in the next promotion will be turning 18 in the months to come. Not quite yet. Because in Japanese, Dan means man, or I like to say grown up. And when they turn 18, their rank will automatically turn to that new belt. There is not another test involved. So when you see that belt, that's what it means. Now to talk about Lucas. Oh my, Lucas. How far back we go? I'm honestly not sure how much to share because he was so cute when he was little, right? He was a bundle of energy in my small children's class. Could barely stay on his tape, full of what my father would have called spit and vinegar. And he has carried that intensity, and he has focused that intensity, and he has, through his determination and his hard work, become an unbelievably successful young man. And there's just no way I could be more proud of him and all that he's accomplished. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations. I bet all the black belts watching are jealous that I can tie from this side. Oh my gosh, she was wonderful. Shodan Ho. Courtesy bow.
Nice.
Hit me, I'm so proud of you. Congratulations. Let's give these gentlemen a hand. As the people come to talk to you, which is always a tradition in promotions, they're going to come right up here so you can see and hear us. And I believe Sensei Lydia, you're first.
I'd like to thank the audience and the parents for being here, because this really, really is a very special day for both these gentlemen. And I too have known both of these young men since they were, can I say knee-high to a grasshopper? And I couldn't be prouder of them. They are utmost courtesy. They display utmost courtesy all the time. They work hard. They're very, very determined. And I couldn't be prouder of both of you. It is a pleasure to know both of you. And I will say this is really a truly special day, because this is a day that you will remember forever. okay, is when you first got your black belt. It is a very, very special day and one to be cherished and honored for each of you and also for your parents, for your family. So I courtesy vow to you.
That's so true. Sensei Jackie?
Sensei Alexander, Sensei Lucas. I'm excited to call you that because I too have known them since they were 4. And it is so wonderful to have the families here that I saw every week bringing their kids, and now kids are all grown up. They're going to
13 years
college.
later.
4 years old when we started at University Private School and at the PJ Melly Dojo. So my hope is that you take with you the feeling of the dojo that you have had for all these 13, 14 years and take that towards
I put you back in the camera.
take that towards your adulthood and your college life, and remember all that you have been given so that you can give the same to those who come after you.
Nice. Okay, Sensei Jerry, take it home.
Senseis, honor. You were honored today with your promotion by the achievements and requirements that you were asked to do. By doing this, you've honored yourselves, your family, your karate, and your sensei. It is my wish, and I have no doubt, that you will continue to honor yourselves and your rank. Us.
Nice. Okay, Alexander, come on up here so the camera can see and hear you, and you're going to start talking, dude.
Like you said, I've done karate for 13 years now. It's been something I've done my whole life ever since I was a kid. It's taken up so much of my time and it's made me who I am today. I wanted to thank everyone that's helped me reach here, of course, all of my senseis, all the senseis that have been here and all the senseis who can't be here that have trained me and helped me get here today. My family, everyone who's here and everyone who hasn't been here, they've taken me to all my classes, they've always encouraged me, and I wouldn't be here without any of them.
Nice job, Alexander.
Well, it's hard to go after all those amazing speeches, but I have to say, I've been doing karate since I was probably below all the sensei's waist, and I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for all the people that encouraged me along the way here. And I love karate because I remember every single time when I was on like a bad day or a bad week, and I was really mad and I would go into the dojo, and every single time I came out of that dojo, I was such a happy person. It's one of the reasons I love karate. And then all of the senseis are like family to me also. They help me through everything. I remember they helped me through my struggles. I remember Sensei Jackie used to help me with Spanish after class too. But I have to thank all of you back home because I know without your encouragement, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I have to thank you all. Grandpa, Grandma, Tony, Helen, thank all of you.
Nice, very nice. I'm going to agree with Lucas that there's nothing better than hitting something to make a bad day turn good. Everybody on this side of the room knows that to be true. And secondly, I want to thank the families for the support they gave these young people through all these years. It sometimes seems that it's never going to happen in a style like ours, Goju, because we wait until the person is actually capable of having adult thought before we will put a belt on them that means they've grown into adulthood. And it's so much easier just to go somewhere else and get a different belt that'll come to you in, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years. So I always want to thank the families for their support in something like this, because this is an accomplishment that you would only understand if you experienced it. The belt doesn't really do it justice how much work these kids do. And everybody who comes through the dojo does. This promotion is closing, so let's come out for our last courtesy bow. I know we can't all fit in the camera, so we won't worry too much about it. Sensei Jay, why don't you come over by me? You gonna bow with us, Landon? Okay. Okay. In the shape we're in, courtesy bow, ready?
Us.
All three of these people are master level black belts, so courtesy bow, will, gentlemen.
Us.
And to our audience, these families are awesome. Us. And a holler out to Landon. Thank you, Landon.
Thank you, Sensei.
And thank you, audience, very much for tuning in. Thank you. We'll see you at 4 o'clock for our last set of promotions.
Dojo Conversations.
Welcome to today's show. I'm Sensei Michelle, and today I'm sitting with Sensei Jackie. Say hey. Hey. You might remember from the last episode, multiple personalities over there, friend, teacher, student, and hat wearer of podcast fame. And I'm sitting with Landon.
Hello, everybody.
And again, with Landon, you may remember if you listened to our premiere episode, he's not only a student of the dojo, but he's also Sensei Jackie's grandson. Today we're going to be discussing how and why character is developed in the dojo. And I'd like to start with why. I'm hoping that this discussion about why character is developed isn't too controversial. After all, this is my first episode. If you teach someone to fight really good, but you don't instill patience, courtesy, and Sensei Jackie will chime in here with empathy, yes, then it's easy for that person to become a bully. And that is not the goal of a dojo. That is the why, nice and simple. The oldest saying that I can think of is that we learn how to fight so we never have to do it. There are other sayings that are tangents on that, but that one, which when you hear and you're not in a dojo, it doesn't make any sense. But the more patient and the more courteous and the more tolerant you become as a karate person of internal strength, the less you have to take that strength from pushing around somebody else. That's the why of it. Do you want to add anything to the why of it before we keep going?
I do not. I'm interested in the whole tenor of character in the dojo.
I agree with Sensei Jackie.
How does it happen? How do we do it? The first thing that we do when discussing character development is the courtesy bow at the door. And the courtesy bow at the door has multiple meanings. One of them is that bow signifies you leaving your troubles, your distractions, and your ego outside the dojo and coming in with the proverbial empty cup, ready to fill it with today's information. That is one of the things. Now, the ego is the tricky part, and since I'm going to spend a whole episode on that, I'm not going to tangent off on that too far today. But that courtesy bow and that acquiescence that it implies is that first taste of you saying to yourself, oh, I see, I'm not perfect to begin with, so let me see what the future is going to bring to me. We also pay tribute to all those people who came before us by having a courtesy bow at our shrine wall. I'm pretty sure all styles do that. And I'm pretty sure all types of disciplines that are based with a philosophy have that attribution, if that's the right word, to those that came before. Be it families, do that. You don't forget those that came before you. Countries. We all have that aspect where we look back in time and say, these people brought this far and now we take it on from here. So that's another similar courtesy bow, similar aspect of giving up of yourself a little bit. Not being egocentric is the point of that. Did I do okay in explaining it?
I think so.
Okay. Our style starts with the 3 rules. I'll come back to those 3 rules in a minute because I make a little tangent, especially with my kids, when I first start teaching them. And that is that I say, usually right in front of their parents, if their parents are available and watching, We know we're not allowed to go around hitting everybody who makes us upset. It's just not allowed, whether we're in school or on the playground or whatever. So what do we do instead? And then rather than just leave it there, I give them choices. We can walk away from it. We can talk about it. We can tell someone who can help us, or we can just ignore it. At that point, I oftentimes play a little ignore game, which is completely a riot, where we try to bother each other while ignoring each other, and oh my gosh, chaos ensues. You've all been there, am I right?
Yes.
Yes, chaos ensues. Do you have any recollection of the first time you saw that game and what you thought of?
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, when I'm sitting there and I'm talking to the kids and I'm trying to sit close to the parents, the reason I do that is because one of the things I say to the kids is the reason that you need to get used to those 4 choices is because it is not going to change for the rest of life. Those are the same 4 choices that I have to this very day and that we all have as grown-ups and adults. And sometimes grown-ups and adults are not super good examples of those 4 choices. So to reiterate, their walk away from it, I always think of the grocery store when I think of that one. Tell someone who can help you. Talk it over with the person. Or just ignore it. And all of those take being less egocentric. That's the skill you have to have going in. Now, back to the 3 rules. I think that they're very straightforward. But if you're hearing this and you're like, what? Just write us and we'll talk about them some more in the question and answer part of the show at the end. The 3 rules in our style are everyone works, nothing is free, and everyone starts at the beginning or the bottom. The rule goes, everyone starts at the bottom. But I've added the word beginning in its place because I found oftentimes with many people, the bottom as a descriptive word is confusing. And so we switch it over once they get their confidence about them and the words don't make them feel defensive going in. So everyone works, nothing is free, everyone starts at the bottom. When we have t-shirts that say those rules on the back, and when you wear them out in public, people love them. And they always ask, where can I get them? Maybe I should take this as a minute to say you can get that shirt, I believe. Did we put it up on Cafe Press? I don't know if we did. We'll check and see. Oh, we'll do it today before the end of the show. Thank you, Sensei Jackie. After that, we go straight to the 5 animals. The 5 animals we mostly use for movement, but they also do have character development. Our 5 animals are the lion for power and tenacity, the smaller cat, which was always taught to me as the tiger, but since the tiger is a large cat, it was confusing to many people. So you could use the lynx or even my karate name, the Wildcat, for speed and patience, the mythical dragon for the aspect of flight, the snake for suppleness, rhythm, and endurance, and the beautiful bird, the crane, for balance, grace, and self-control. Since self-control is my favorite thing in the world, that would mean the crane would be my favorite animal. What's yours, Landon?
I think that my favorite is the snake.
Oh, nice. I love the concept of endurance, of really being able to last a long time in something. I read once a long time ago about a man who said, it's one thing to be able to do and learn new things, but it's a whole nother level of sophistication to be able to learn something that you already know in a new way.
And I also think in more of like a simple way is saying that in endurance is that there's many people who help as teachers and go right into another class, right into their class, their adult class. So I think that that's, an interesting thing that you have to keep your endurance while you're doing those things.
Exactly. Okay, if you're still hanging in here, we enter the world of the 10 virtues. Okay, I'm going to make this list in a random order, so I know that some of you who are Goju and you attribute a certain number to a certain virtue, you're going to rate me. But it's okay because I'm allowed to make mistakes and let my memory be selective. After all of our memories are selective, aren't they? We're proud to be karate people. We always practice and study. We always practice patience. We're quick to seize opportunity, and we always keep our fighting spirit. We believe that nothing is impossible. We block soft and hit hard. We discard the bad and keep the good. And we have loyalty to ourselves, our family, and what we know is the right thing to do. Now that's how I teach the virtues. They've changed a lot over the years. But I do want to say that I was just recently reading the book, The Dojo, and Peter Urban only had five virtues in his copy of the book, The Dojo, and I really liked that. I think 10 is a little bit cumbersome, in all honesty. And it's not that they're not 10 great characteristics, because they are. If you were to say to me, which one would you take out, I would be hard-pressed to do that. But I liked the simplicity of 5. It's in order to apply something to your life, you have to be able to keep it in your head, and 10 is a lot.
It is.
Also, he had courtesy as one of his virtues in that book, and I really appreciated that, because I think that courtesy, like self-control, it sometimes runs a bad flavor in people's mouth, like somehow it's a weakness, when of course it is not a weakness at all. It's a power line, as long as it's coming from your chi line. And again, I'm going to do a whole podcast on chi, so don't get on me too much, just Google it. You'll get tons of information about it. Let's go back now and look at those virtues and talk about them, the things that we think about them. So, Landon, of those virtues, is there one that sticks out in your head, the one that you've been using a lot going into the grade you're in right now? Is there anything there that you've got to add?
My favorite one is, and I remember all the time, is we keep the good and discard the bad. And I say that when I'm helping out in class, I really like telling the kids that one. Because I think it's really important to focus on the good, and not really always think about the bad and the negative.
You know what I love about discard the bad and keep the good is it's one of the beginning ways that you get to address whether you're actually truthful with yourself about yourself. Yes, that's a brutal subject, isn't it? I'm not sure I'm going to do a whole podcast on that one, because that'd give us a headache. But that is an important aspect of martial arts training, and I think anybody who's trying to develop their own character, they have to be able to be honest with themselves and say, this is what I'm doing well at. I have a good sense of humor. I'm a very honest person. I'm whatever it is. And this is what I could do better at. I could be more on time, or I could have better organizing skills, or I could have a better sense of humor. Okay, that wasn't meant for me. I don't think that's meant for me. Fine. What about you, Sensei Jackie?
My favorite virtue is we always keep our fighting spirit. And as you say in class many times, it means we don't give up.
And I'm going to say that the Peter Urban virtue, if I'm wrong and he was not the person who put those words together, please write me and correct me. We believe that nothing is impossible. I really like to reverse that when I teach it. I really like to say, and I almost did just now, we believe that every single thing is possible. So that when we wake up in the morning, the new day starts and you can really just grasp it rather than carry the baggage from the day before. I really like that part of it. The thing about these virtues is that they are based on our behavior. When we're doing those virtues, we're changing the way we act, which is a great beginning. But when we have to go to the part where we get inside of ourselves, that becomes more the intermediate level of character development. And that is a second podcast, I'm going to say a couple months down the line from now. So you create your own moral code, and it's that drives you. That is the intent of what you do, that is inside of you. So when we start, we're starting with the behavior. You have to call the sensei. You can't use the word yeah. You can't use the word can't inside a dojo. When I do that with my kids, and they say, I can't, Sensei, I can't, I say, just replace that with, can you see I'm trying, Sensei? Can you see I'm trying? What do you replace it with?
I think I can. I feel like I'm the little engine that could.
I like that one. How about you as an inside your own head or as a helper teacher?
I know I can.
Yeah.
So I don't think I can. I know I can.
What a positive way to look at it. I like it. In the last few decades, I've noticed that students have better results when I share exactly how I implemented different character development skills as opposed to just saying, fix this. Like, for example, a non-communicator. Instead of just saying, communicate with me, I think I just did it in the dojo last night when I said, what's the number one way to remember something? And we all agreed that it was to make a note somehow. Make an alarm in your phone, make a note in your device, whatever your post-it angle is, that's the way to remember something. Just putting it in your head and saying, no, I got this. In today's busy world, with thoughts replacing thoughts so quickly, that's a crazy idea in my opinion. When I tell people those things, when I talk about them, I always call them tools. And I always call it my toolbox. I carry my toolbox with me to improve my patience or my memory skills or my reliability by doing what I said I was going to do or any of those things. So one tool I'd like to mention right off, and it's always been a part of training, is that by drawing up character in kata, it can come out in daily life. And vice versa. So for example, if you really don't like kata, and the teacher keeps saying you just don't have enough intensity, then sometimes it's good to try to bring a little intensity into your daily life, whether it's to sing really loudly or make loud grunting noise while you're playing basketball. Be less aware of what you are and just be the thing, full out. And then it will come out for you in your kata. On the other hand, if you're not a person who is really, really good at analyzing themselves throughout the day and being aware of what they're doing throughout the day, the opposite works. If you summon up that patience by standing still in a specific spot, wow, that was a lot of S's. I'm saying it again. Standing still in a specific spot in your kata, then that patience can and will come through for you in daily life. That is one of my favorite beginning tools to give to somebody because I think it's so handy. Also, the tool that comes out between kata and daily life is the breathing. And the breathing all the way down into your chi pocket. Let's just go on record as saying, it's not great for keeping a flat belly when you're supposed to be dressed for success or looking like a size 2 or whatever we're going to go to the 1990s, whatever the 1990s depiction of a woman was. Luckily now there are many more to pick from, and I'm so glad. Because when you breathe down into your chi pocket, your belly comes out a little bit. And that means it's filling you with that strength and that energy. And that's a good thing. That's a powerful thing. And that makes the choices that we all make at that point come from a place of power as opposed to knee-jerk reactions or default responses. So I'm going to repeat those. Knee-jerk reactions, somebody triggers something and you get reactionary. And default reactions. I always react like this when somebody does that. Or I always react like this when I'm running late or whatever it is. So that was a lot of information. Do you guys have anything to add?
I always remember the ki that we use in kata is really helpful in daily life, especially at school. If there's something going on, it's a good thing to have inside of you to know, this is what I can use to help me.
You know what? I'm going to add to that because you couldn't be more right. Thank you for bringing that up to me. The saying, and I wonder how many times we'll say this in podcasts, we should keep track, that what you do a lot of, you become very good at. So I've been having conversations with a lot of students lately that have been practicing their ki kind of half-heartedly, but then they'll draw their ki out in real life and it won't be there for them. And then they'll be coming back to me saying, listen, this didn't work for me. And I'll be like, well, I kind of warned you, because that nice, wonderful yell, I think that could be my number 2 self-defense favorite technique, second only to pay attention. Pay attention is my favorite self-defense technique. But that yell and that surprise that it gives to the person who did not expect you to be able to do that lion's roar, for lack of a better way to explain what a ki is, it's a really handy self-defense tool and backs most people off.
And what's great is that it goes through all of the ages in our dojo. I've worked with little kids that have amazing ki.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that it's very important.
Not today because we're running out of time, but another day we should have a fun little memory lane moment where we do all the different kiais we've heard people say. Okay, Sensei Jackie, take it home here. Tools is where we left off.
The tools that I use in the dojo, for me, whether it's going from a patient moment to an explosion, are what I need to be doing when I'm outside the dojo, to be calm. And then if I need to do something explosive, at least I practiced it. And I'm not afraid of the person or thing that I have to do it to.
I'm going to finish this one off by saying, I know that some of you know, some of you don't, that we have a little YouTube page. And the YouTube page right now only has 3 children's songs on it. That's all that's on there. Maybe someday we'll add to it. Maybe we won't. It's called Wildcatdojo, so you can check it out if you would like to see me singing like a child. And with kids.
And me.
And we can say hi to Ava. Maybe she'll ever listen to it and say hi to us. Anyway, I created those songs because I got so frustrated by having my life be, no, don't do that, no, don't do that, no, don't do that. So instead, I say, hey, let's remind us what we are supposed to do by singing these silly songs. The first one is about listening and doing what someone asks you to do. The second one is about thinking before you make the mistake. Turns out that's much harder than it sounds, right?
Definitely.
Leading me to the karate saying it's easy to say you take karate, but it's also easy to say you're not going to do it again until you teach yourself to think before you do it. And the last one, which is my favorite one, it's about consequences. And consequences are something else that's really gotten a bad rap over the years. Because the first line of the song says they could be good or bad. It's up to us. Consequences can be a great thing. Like I'm hoping that the consequences of this podcast are that people listen so we can come back and do it over and over because we're having such a good time with it. All right, what do you got? That's it for me for today.
I love the way we talked about the beginnings of character and how hopefully in the podcast we'll keep developing not only the character of students, but of ourselves, and how much we're going to learn from just doing and learning as we talk.
See, now you're going to make me add, because you made me think of something, which is, I always tell my students I'm a work in progress. Do I not always say that?
Yes,
Always.
you do.
And that if you're going to justify your mistake because you saw me make the mistake, then it's not shame on me because I am a work in progress. It's shame on you for trying to find a justification. So we are all, and if I ever stop, I hope somebody hits me in the back of the head and says, hey, stop doing that and get back on the track of growth. Growth is the way to go. It's fun. It's interesting. It's like taking this wonderful, wonderful adventure and you never have to leave your house to do it. It's pretty cool that way. I'm closing it up. So we want to hear what you think. There's 3 ways to get in touch with us. Write me at dojoconversations@aol.com or on our webpage, also wildcatdojo.com, or on our Facebook page at Sensei Michelle's Dojo. If you need those spellings, go back to the premiere episode. It's all spelled for you there. We sure appreciate your time. We can't wait to get to our next episode. And don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe to us so we're in your device every Monday. That's our show for today. I'm Sensei Michelle, signing off for now. Sensei Michelle here. Did you notice the mistake at the end of the podcast? Our Facebook page is called Wildcat Dojo, not Sensei Michelle's Dojo. We changed it, but the change came through after the recording. Sorry for any inconvenience. On today's show, hear us say,
But even more interesting is that the Parthians were horsemen that could swivel in the saddle and shoot backwards at full gallop.
This is Wildcat Dojo Conversations.
Hi, guys. Welcome to our first podcast on archery. I say that because we do have a YouTube video on archery, and we want you to check it out. Hey, Landon, first say hi, and then tell them how. Please?
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. You can view our YouTube live event. It was super fun by going to YouTube and on the search bar typing in Wildcat Dojo. Wildcat Dojo is all one word, and our archery fun live event will be there.
And I just want to say that you have to wait about 10 or 15 seconds for the video to start. It's weird. We're not sure why, but this is why we were experimenting with it. And I think I better move on and say hi to Sensei Jackie before she gets a hurt feeling.
Hi, everybody.
So you add on, Sensei Jackie, why did we do the archery timeline as a live YouTube event?
What an experience.
That's an understatement.
Well, we needed to practice going live because on December 6th at 3 p.m., we will be live on YouTube again doing our Black Belt Promotions 2020. So tune in for that.
We're doing it 2020 style.
AKA COVID style.
Exactly.
Us.
Okay, here we go. If you're a regular listener, then you know that we promised Sensei Jay would be back for this episode, and he is. So say hi, Sensei.
Hello, and as usual, I'm very honored to be invited.
Oh, and we're so glad to have you.
Thank you.
So we're going to start out with the precursor to the bow and arrow. Sensei Jay brought this to my attention. It's a weapon called an atlatl. It's also known as an atlatl, according to thoughtco.com. And it is spelled ATL. Sensei Jay, do me a favor. Take it away and give them some background on that.
Us. Well, this weapon is approximately 17,000 years old. And it is simply a piece of wood, about 12 to 14 inches, or maybe a little bit longer, that on one end you hook your spear or longer arrow in, and you can throw it further because it adds thrust and velocity to your throw. The best way to explain this spear thrower is you all have seen the plastic instrument that you use for dogs, and you put the tennis ball in, and it's extension of your hand. And when you throw it, you can throw the ball a lot farther and faster than you could just with your normal arm. If you'd like to see one of these being used, you can type in ATL, and you can find the show Dual Survival, where one of the members in the show, Matt, is using one of these. Sensei Michelle and I are going to make one of these, and the four of us are going to try it out. And we will let you know how that works out.
That's pretty cool, isn't it, guys?
I just like saying it. Adel.
And I can't wait to throw it.
You know, I had never even seen anything like it. In the YouTube video I found that wasn't a dual survival guy. It was a guy teaching you how to be a survivor. And he did some really nice explanations. And he also did some really close-up video on the instrument where you could see really well how it connected, how it worked, how you hold it. It was neat.
They're actually online. You can buy them.
Oh, yeah.
You can buy them.
You can buy all this stuff. All right. Getting back to the archery that the atlatl, see how I changed the way I said it that time, led to. I used way too many sites for this research to name them all. I mean, seriously, it was like 12 sites. Wow.
Yes.
So as we go along, we may or may not mention one or two of them. You're just going to have to wait and see on that, guys. Anyway, since we've already given you a detailed timeline on YouTube, we're not going to start with that. But we will start with our usual array of miscellaneous information. Right, Landon, you're first?
Sensei, I got this. I don't think it's necessary to tell our listeners what a bow and arrow looks like. But if you're interested, you can check it out on our YouTube Live because we did show them.
That's right.
That's right. We held up my bow.
Thanks, Landon.
Although, if you have never seen one in real life and you don't want to look at us on YouTube, I do think that we're really worth the look. They range from a kid's toy of plastic to something gorgeous from a company like Fred Bear or Hoyt.
So back in the day, Sensei Jay, I'm trying to remember when we did this. Fred Bear had a factory and a museum in Gainesville, remember?
Correct.
And we went. Amazing.
This guy was a famous archer and hunter and really brought archery, it seems like, to a different level in America. And he had all different types of weapons. And I remember he had the Japanese arrows. And what was interesting is you saw similar arrows. And instead of a broadhead at the end, it had a egg-shaped device which had grooves in it. And it would make a shrieking, terrifying sound going through the air towards the enemy.
I remember that.
Wow.
Let's just explain that a broadhead is it's a three-dimensional arrow. Instead of having a flat side and two pointy sides, it has 4 or possibly even 6 or even 8 pointy sides coming out, like it looks like a star. So when it goes in you, it's all over but the crying.
Yeah.
So now that we've hurt ourselves with arrows, ouch. Sensei Jay, you're going to keep pushing us on here, but we're going to go back on track with our miscellaneous facts on archery.
Okay, I'd like to add something I found that sets up the importance of this art to archers. Even though the dictionary describes it as a sport, archers disagree. They use bows for everything from targets to putting food on the table, and they think of archery as something as simple as a hobby to something they are so dedicated to, it is a way of life.
And I think all of us agree with that because we all understand things we're very dedicated to.
Us.
Yes, we do. We're all shaking our heads at the same time.
And to be honest with you, we all like to shoot a little bit more than just hobby level, right?
Yes, I think so. Just a little bit more.
I will say we don't do it enough because time is our friend, but go back to our time podcast for that conundrum. Okay, where are we, guys?
Can I start by pushing us on with a little history, Sensei?
Ooh, good idea.
Okay. People have found evidence of archery on every continent except Australia. It's probably not what you're expecting. Australia, which is a little weird, but it does suggest a podcast on Australian weapons, right, Sensei?
Definitely.
Australia, the boomerang.
And now, getting back to bow history, historians say it probably dates back to the Stone Age.
Wow.
Yes.
I have a neat fact from Greco-Roman times. First off, they used the bows and arrows more for hunting than for warfare.
That is a cool fact.
I think so. But even more interesting is that the Parthians, who lived in what is now modern-day Iran, were horsemen that could swivel in the saddle and shoot backwards at full gallop.
Okay, A, I love that fact. And B, I'm jumping. It's kind of a horse joke.
That was funny.
Why are we laughing that hard? It was a silly joke.
It's a steeplechase joke.
It is, because I'm jumping over to England. And the first known organized competition, it was held in Finsbury, England in 1583. And here's the coolest part. It had 3,000 participants.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay, before we move on to the types of bows, can we please stop for 1 second and give a shout out to our sponsor, which is, of course, Honor Athletics.
Honor Athletics, of course.
You can reach them at honorathletics.com for all your karate needs or at
770-945-5150.
And don't forget, say Wildcatdojo at the end of your order and you get a 10% discount.
And we recommend you call Cynthia because she's awesome, or her son. They're both really nice people. Okay, now on to the types of bows.
Okay, I'll start. Historically, there are three kinds of bows: long bows, recurves, and Asiatic. The recurve was supposedly invented by the Mongolians. You guys mentioned them in the timeline.
Okay, I'm going to try to explain recurves, and I'm not meaning this as a joke. I just tried really hard to think of how to explain it to someone who wasn't looking at one. Now, I know this sounds weird, but don't you think it looks a little bit like the wood is smiling?
A little bit.
Or possibly it's in the shape of a sinister mustache?
That's what I see with it.
And that makes much more tension on the bowstring.
That's right. And it creates the advantage of a shorter bow that is easy to maneuver, and the curve of the bow forms a stopgap, allowing the string to have greater impact and a higher velocity.
I love a recurve. We all shoot them.
Yeah, we all love recurves.
But let's move on to the European longbows. They are approximately as long as the height of a man.
Yikes. I read that they first appeared towards the end of the Middle Ages and that the Welsh, the people from the country of Wales, invented them. But as usual, the controversy begins because other sites say that they've been around since Neolithic times. That's just way before the Middle Ages.
And how about this? I read where the Scots invented them. So,
Come on, another controversy.
Well, no matter who came up with the first one, early finds have been uncovered in Scandinavia. They also found some in Somerset County in England in 1961. Those remnants were made of yew, which is an ancient evergreen, and the bows were partially wrapped with leather.
When he said you, I said, they weren't made of me.
Good one, Landon. If you wanted to look it up, you is spelled Y-E-W. And I did have to look that tree up. I had never heard of it.
Don't type your name into Google. Type in YEW.
You guys.
Okay.
And on that note, let's move to the Asiatic bows.
Perfect. You're up.
You're
up?
No, Asia.
No wonder you guys take so long doing these podcasts.
Okay, we're back.
Asiatic bows look a little like recurve bows strung backwards. Check out the Twitter page and we'll try to put up a picture for you. These bows are nearly all composite, meaning they're made of a combination of materials selected to make the bow more efficient. The use of different materials dates several thousand years, with the first Asiatic bow evidence being dated to the year 2030 BCE.
True, but those first Asiatic bows were a little short and kind of primitive. As time passed on, and they became more sophisticated, the materials they used grew to include things like buffalo horns and antler combined with wood and bamboo. This was all held together with salmon skin or rabbit skin, glued and wrapped in bird bark or snake skin. And if that wasn't enough, then they were lacquered to keep moisture out.
Wow, Landon, I liked that one. I'm going to finish this one off by adding that recently these bows have come to be called horse bows because the Mongols and the Huns used them in large numbers both on foot and in chariots. Horseback archery dates back to the 13th century.
Amazing.
Yes. And I can finish this with saying another offshoot is called the crossbow. It is ancient, and I cannot believe it didn't make it into the list of historic bows.
I was surprised that it didn't make the list also. I looked, and although they've been around since the 4th century CE, they played a big part in the battles in the 1300s in England. Don't they work a little bit like a gun? In other words, they have a trigger release, the arrow is shorter, and you also hold the bow like horizontally.
Exactly. Even though it isn't as historic, I don't think we should move to the types of shooting until we touch on compound bows.
I agree with you.
I think you guys mentioned that the compound bow was invented by Hollis Wilbur Allen Jr. in 1966 in Missouri. It relies on a levering system to bend the limbs. According to historyofarchery.com, he basically cut down a recurve and added pulleys and cables. What a compound bow does is it allows a hunter to pull more weight than he normally would with a recurve or longbow because of the pulley system, and you can hold the weight fully drawn without losing aim or hurting yourself. One more thing, although people target shoot with these to get proficient, they're really made for hunting.
Thanks, Sensei Jay, for all that information. If you want to figure out what kind of bow you should get and how you should start your archery adventure, there's a site called Archery 101. Isn't that cute?
Aww.
I went to it and looked, and the guy is really cool, and that can get you started. But I really recommend that you go to either a shop or possibly a range, and you can get some input from people who know how. There are archery clubs all over the United States, and I'm sure all over the world, that allow beginners to come in, get some lessons, figure things out, and go from there.
And my experience with archers is that in general, they're glad to talk to you. They like to spread their sport.
Agreed.
And Sensei, while we're talking about questions we're not going to answer, I tried to find some information on just the history of arrows. I did read where the first tips shaped like arrows were found in Africa, but that may have been spearheads, not arrows, from bows. And guys, we talk a little bit about arrows in the timeline on YouTube. Just reminding you for the, YouTube time.
All right, guys, we have really covered a lot of stuff so far, right?
Yes.
I'm going to pick this up by saying that target shooting is by far and away the most popular. And the most common target is the circular type. Everybody's seen them with a bullseye, right?
Yes, and I'm going to add that if you're keeping score, a bullseye is worth 10 points. Then you take away 1 point with each circle, moving outward from the center.
I read that. And ranges, not counting the ones you build for yourself, which have we all built some sort of range on our own for archery? I have.
I have.
Oh, yes.
From the time we were little kids, right, Sensei Jay?
Yes, and I used to make my own bow out of pine branches and arrows.
And a lot of my students have their own little archery set up in the back of their homes. Anyway, ranges come in both indoor and outdoor. And there are lots of different distances to shoot from and different targets to shoot out. That list was so long. That list was as long as the timeline list. Keep me going here, Landon.
One quick thing, an Olympic target is at least 230 feet away using a target 4 feet in diameter, and only recurve bows are used in Olympic archery. Also, the same rules apply for men and women.
And with that, I'm moving on to the fact that I found 14 different types of target shooting competitions.
Wow.
So we're going to pick a few of our favorites, and we're going to go from there.
May I go first?
Please do.
Flight archery. So cool because there's no target. It's about who can shoot the arrow the farthest. And this type of archery prompted specialized bows and special arrows, as you can imagine, because people want to go the farthest. Although there are competitions for regular bows as well. The record distance from this article was 1,336 and a half yards far.
Wow.
Yeah. In 1987 by Don Brown in Smith Creek, USA. But there's an ancient Turkish flight bow that has a record of 900 yards.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that record is from a while back.
Yes.
Wow. That's so interesting. I picked running archery. Running archery is also known as an arcathlon.
And isn't that based on the biathlon that they do in the Winter Olympics?
Sensei, it is, and it's for warm climates. Well, courses are 5 to 12 kilometers long with 3 shooting stations. Sometimes bows are stored at each station instead of carrying them. I think that this would be really fun because I love running and I love archery.
That does sound fun.
Nice.
Yes. I'll take one called traditional. Trad for short. That's really what it said. I did not make that up. In traditional competitions, they don't allow any modern gadgets. No sights, stabilizers, and no compound bows. You can only use long bows, recurves, or flat bows, which is a kind of long bow. The only difference is the shape of the bow is flat and it has equal width, the length of the bow, just like in the old days.
Oh, that's cool. I'm going to take bow fishing.
All right.
This is a nod to you, Jay, because I know you love fishing. I thought this one was interesting because it's an arrow with a fishing line attached. Compound bows are the most popular for this because they're comfortable to use. They have sights and they have stabilizers and they're quiet. I bet you need special permits for this, though. I'd like to see this one in real life.
It would be an interesting thing to see, but this is awesome. Horseback archery. There are mounted archery competitions and they are very specialized. The farthest targets are 50 yards away and they use recurves or a special horse bow.
I have shot an arrow off of horseback before and it is wicked difficult.
I can imagine.
Not even off of a galloping horse. On this one, when I did this little piece of research here, I was looking at some of the horseback archery competitions. Whew, they looked fun. And there was an element of courage in going down that road.
I would imagine so.
I'm going to finish with a goofy one called archery tag. I know. They use foam heads and they wear protective gear. And it's really popular at bachelor and bachelorette parties, which is weird.
Yes.
And it's also popular in team building.
There had to be alcohol involved in the first one.
All right. We're moving on to the history of archery in North America.
Okay, can I start this one?
Please do.
According to Texas Beyond History, the bow and the arrow replaced the atlatl and dart as the principal weapon system for hunting and warfare around 700 CE. The origin is unknown. The earliest people in North America didn't use bows and arrows, but around 3000 BCE, people in North America started to use them for hunting. They might have gotten the technology from the Inuits, native people of Alaska.
Continuing on from there. By about 500 CE, East Asian traders brought the recurve to the Inuit in North America. They in turn brought the recurve to the Native American people at that time. They used sinew for their string, and I read that some bow makers still use that.
That's neat. I've got
Hi, and welcome to our last promotions of the afternoon. Boy, are we excited.
Sensei.
If you've been tuning in all day, then all day at the beginning of every promotion, you saw and heard me. But the people who are being promoted right now, not mine. So I get to have off. And I'm going to introduce you to Sensei Lydia.
Thank you, Sensei Michelle. And I want to thank all the parents for coming out and the audience, and also the YouTube viewers who have been watching. And I'm hoping that this has been an enjoyable experience for you, and that we have many more of you watching. I want to start out by introducing everybody, and so that we can have a mutual courtesy. I want to start out with Sensei Michelle, and Sensei Bernadette, and then Sensei Jackie, and to Sensei Jay, And I want a special shout out to Landon, who was so graciously given out his day to make this all possible for us and to bring it all to you. Stick your head in there, Landon.
Thank you, Sensei.
I hope we never have to do YouTube Live again. My goodness, this was a thing. I want you guys to come out in person.
And we're going to come out together, and we're going to courtesy bow, have a mutual courtesy, right? Okay. I'd like to start out by first and foremost paying tribute to Master Joseph Collegian, who sadly left us a little over 3 years ago. And we miss him every day, ever so much. And we are forever indebted to him for his generosity of wisdom, his undying spirit and passion for the Goju style. He had one special gift to where he always gave us, the senseis, whenever we had an occasion to get together, a little gift of a saying that he wrote, or a quote. And I want to bring that out today because I think it's very important and very appropriate for all this, is that he made a circle and he said, the teacher teaches the student and the student becomes the teacher. Teaches the student and the student becomes the teacher. And this is what all this is about today. We are all products and students of Master Collegian and Sensei Michelle. So we're kind of like grandpa, grandma, mom, children, and that's how we grow. And I want to do right now is, in respect for Master Collegian, please to just have a moment of silence for his memory. Thank you. Gokura Sama Deshita, Sensei. Thank you. And also a special thanks to Sensei Michelle, who is, for all of us, we would not be here today if it wasn't for her. Her tireless dedication, especially for this year, to get us through what we needed to get through, to get these 6 people promoted. It's been a very, very long year, and these students are to be commended also for all their hard work. But she is just, none of us would be here without her. And I also, when I started karate as an adult, I saw a quote that she put out one time that just resonated with me and stayed with me for all my life. And I still look at it today. And I just don't want to get filled up. But she wrote, perseverance is success and resignation is failure. And boy, does that apply to every single aspect of our lives. In karate, school, work, everything, family, everything. Okay, we all learn by making mistakes, but we never, ever, ever quit. And so a special courtesy bow to you, Sensei Michelle. And we love you so much, and thank you for all your hard work. Back at you.
Kisses across the body.
Kisses across the room. And now that brings me to Mara. I can put this away. Mara has been training in karate since the age of 4. And she did start out with Sensei Michelle, and all of us here have had a responsibility in her training and have helped her to her training. I do want to thank her mom and dad and her sisters for being so supportive of her, because Mara does karate and viola and dancing and school, and it is so very much for somebody who is 17 and a half years old. You 17 and a half yet? Almost. 17 and a half years old to undertake, and everybody should be so proud of her. Us. So you can step forward a little bit, Miss Mara. Show down hope. Congratulations, courtesy bell. And courtesy bell, everyone. Us. And give this woman a hand. So proud of you. And now what we'll do is everybody will come out and say a little something about how wonderful Mara is. And we'll start with Sensei Michelle. Mara.
Okay, she's awesome. I know you sisters are proud of her. Quite an accomplishment, right? As Sensei Lydia told you, our group here watching is very small. Only immediate family is allowed to come. The most 5 members, and Mara got all 5. So yay. And as Sensei Lydia mentioned, we have known each other just like with Lucas and Alex since you two were this tall. So you were just a little teeny thing. Mara is perseverant. She is a strong-willed woman, which I just appreciate so much in a human being. And she's also highly intelligent. And one of my favorite things, highly motivated. I'm just so incredibly proud of you. I know so much greatness is left in your life. I can't wait to hear about it. Congratulations.
Sensei Mara, you are a shining light. First of all, you're our only girl show.com, and I am proud of you for that. But watching you grow from the time you were 4 to who you are now has been an experience that I have learned from. That you were able to take any insecurities that you had and work through them, and to become the strong, smart, incredible testing woman that you are. I have learned so much from you, and I want to thank you for the time that you have spent in karate.
Sensei, congratulations. You have honored yourself, your family, your teachers, Master Collegiate. They love you. You should be very proud.
He would.
And the world needs to welcome another tough, strong Goju woman. If there is any doubt, spar one day. Congratulations.
It's been a pleasure working with you on Saturday mornings, and I think you have gone so far. I can't believe how much you have grown. From the time I met you till now, 100%. And I hope you keep pursuing your dreams and your goals, and I wish you all the best.
Nice.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Okay, now you get to come up.
Pull your mask down
And
so
you
we
can
can
say
hear
whatever
you.
you want. You can pull your mask down. Let me get this away from you.
Thank you, Sensei. Boy, I just want to thank all the senseis for being here and teaching me all these years. Like, I started in preschool, barely knowing what I was doing, and here I am knowing a little more. I want to thank Sensei. I'm sorry. I wanted to say, thank Sensei Lydia and thank Sensei Michelle for teaching me all these years, even when I've been annoying, even when it's been really tough for me and everybody else involved. But just thank you.
We have to reverse that, even when we've been annoying.
But thank you so much for teaching me all these years and for allowing me to become who I am. Also my family for being here and driving me to karate forever, and just everybody. Thank you, Sensei.
Love you, Mara.
Congratulations,
Congratulations,
Sensei Mara.
Sensei Mara. Okay.
One more courtesy bow.
One more courtesy bow for everybody. Please come out, take a leave and seat, and courtesy bow to Mara. Please go.
Congratulations, Sensei.
One more applause. You can never applaud you enough. I am so proud of you, and I know everybody is too. So if you want to go ahead and step out to the side, we have one more promotion, and I'm going to turn this over to Sensei Jackie.
Yes. As many of you may know or may not know, normally we do not do a Nidan promotion the same time as a Shodan promotion. But this is an odd year, and Sensei Bernadette deserves a moment in her own sun because she has worked tirelessly to become a Nidan. She's twice a week gone out to Sensei Lydia's house to work, to learn, and to become a person who is taking on the responsibility, which is so hard to go from a Shodan to where the Nidan is going to be to bring along other Shodans. So it is with unbelievable pleasure that I am going to promote Sensei Bernadette to Nidan. She doesn't get a new belt though. She gets a new stripe. Nidan. Let's courtesy bow. Let's all courtesy bow to our newest Nidan. Oh. And I believe you will have things to say to you, Sensei. Sensei Michelle.
Okay. First off, way to go, woman. I'm so proud of you. Of course I courtesy bow. And of course your hard work was incredible. And of course your testing was wonderful. But my favorite thing about watching you this last year is what you said in regards to Mara about overcoming obstacles. Overcoming obstacles is the hardest part of every single one of our days, whether it's work, school, as you mentioned earlier, family, and you have just done such an extraordinary job of just getting back up and doing it again, no matter what it was. And I think Sensei Jackie hits the nail on the head when she says you're going to be a wonderful example for those that come after you. Congratulations.
I too want to congratulate you, Sensei Bernadette. It has been a pleasure working with you, training with you, teaching you, and watching you grow, and watching you develop. And I know that you will continue to do so. and that I look forward to you giving back to karate which you have taken for yourself, and so that you can help younger students and younger black belts come up also in rank. I congratulate you.
Sensei Bernadette, I'm so proud of you. You are an inspiration to me. A lot of you won't understand this. We were in a show, but every time I hear James Brown sing, it was good. It reminds me of what we did.
Thank you very much. Sensei Mari, would you like to speak?
I've been Sensei Bernadette and I have been working with Sensei Lydia for the past at least a year. You're just like working together on Saturday morning and sometimes on Tuesdays. And Sensei Bernadette has just been so helpful in teaching me and making sure I understand what's happening. And honestly, it's just been amazing working with you, Sensei.
Nice. Sensei Bernadette, would you like to speak? Please move up to the blue mark and take off your mask.
Hi, everybody. First of all, I want to thank all the senseis, especially you, Sensei Michelle. I know you worked so hard to get us through this. It hasn't been easy, and I can't imagine the work you do.
Just from the standpoint of organizing,
I get it.
funding meetings, but not, you guys did the hard work.
And Sensei Jackie, you have been my backbone, my inspiration, and kind of like what we've been through together in life. And you brought me through a lot. Woohoo! Sensei Lydia, oh my goodness, where would I be without you? You really helped me out, and I commend you for all the patience that you give me, because it's not easy for me to catch on right away. But you have taken your time, your patience, and for that I'm so appreciative. And I'm even going to say tomorrow, you've been the greatest partner ever, and you are inspiration to me also, because you persevere, and that's very important to me, so thank you. And I also want to thank you all for the time you have dedicated to me and all the help you have given me to get this far, not only in karate but in everyday life. Your knowledge and wisdom has furthered my education in the martial arts, which will never be taken away from me. So I want to thank you for everything, and I want to just bow my head in respect for Master Joe Collegian for giving us Goju Federation.
That was very nice.
Come out for our bows.
We can come out for our bows, but I do want to say two things to any audience members who might be watching on YouTube, or a family who doesn't quite make the connection between how hard you work in karate and how useful it is in daily life. And that is something that comes in what's called an internal style. And an internal style is more about the person competing against themselves to be better every day than it is a person competing in a sport to get a trophy saying that they're the best that day. And that makes a style like ours an internal style that takes a decade or more to reach that first level of black belt. That is what separates an internal style from a sporting type style. Many people call it an external style.
Yes.
And Master Collegian over the years spoke of that so many times. Don't you guys agree? I'm sure you heard it. And it really makes a difference in daily life, where you can summon up that energy, summon up that willpower, summon up the patience, compartmentalize what is in the way, and getting in your way of getting the job done is another way that that internal style works. So for any of you who are watching from home and you don't understand the difference, I say write us and we'll talk to you about it. What do you think? Good idea?
That's a great idea, Sensei.
We'll be glad to.
Podcast on it.
Don't say that. Oh, I do want to say though, did you like the podcast in the middle, or were they a pain in the eardrums?
Let us know in the chat.
Let us know in the chat, says Landon. Okay, now we'll get together for courtesy bows. You got this for me, Sensei Lydia?
Sure, Sensei.
come together, please, so that we're all in. Okay?
Lynn, can you bow just this once?
Yes. Yes, please. That would be
If
so
we
nice.
go out of range there, we go out of range.
Okay, first off, we are going to courtesy bow to Sensei Michelle, no?
Yes.
And courtesy bow to Sensei Mara and to Sensei Bernadette on the promotion. And mutual courtesy to all of us.
Yes.
Go put us on.
Go put us on and she got this. Go Jew!
Yes.
That was fun, and we are done.